How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the show. It's time for another brand new episode of the Politics and Punk Rock Podcast. I, of course, am Andrew for America. And not too long ago, I posted what I thought was a funny video on Instagram and Facebook that kind of talked about Rudolph Steiner. So remember when I talked about Rudolph Steiner multiple times on the show? And I shared with you that quote of his about the vaccine that's going to remove the soul and spirit of mankind. You know, we're going to become dumbed down automatons and we're going to merge with the machines and we're very controllable, hackable creatures now, in the words of Yuval Noah Harari, right? So I don't know when I posted this funny video. I called it episode 1 of Let's Learn Together. And the reason why is because at the end of that Rudolph Steiner quote that I shared and read to you guys multiple times now, at the end of that, there's that phrase where he says, becomes an arymanique force. And I said, I don't know what an arymanique force was. I'm going to have to go look it up. Well, my fellow Americans, I went and looked it up. And I made a funny video about it, continuing the theme in that post, in that video, Let's Learn Together. I shared episode 1, but nobody watched it. I think it's got like maybe 2 views. I don't know if I posted it at a time where I posted a bunch of stuff and it just got lost in the algorithm somewhere, but I answered a lot of the questions that I had asked about that quote and about what that word arymanique, what an arymanique force meant. I answered those questions in that video. So I'm going to play for you this video now because I wanted people to watch it and comment on it, and none of you did. So I'm going to force you to watch it and listen right now. Okay? So here we go. And now, episode 1 of Let's Learn Together, narrated by Andrew for America. Rudolph Joseph Lorenz Steiner was an Austrian occultist, social reformer, architect, esotericist, and claimed clairvoyant. Steiner gained initial recognition at the end of the 19th century as a literary critic and published works including The Philosophy of Freedom. At the beginning of the 20th century, he founded an esoteric spiritual movement, Anthroposophy, with roots in German idealist philosophy and theosophy. His teachings are essentially Christian Gnosticism. Many of his ideas are pseudo-scientific, allegedly. He was also prone to pseudoscience, allegedly. In the first, more philosophically oriented phase of this movement, Steiner attempted to find a synthesis between science and spirituality. His philosophical work of these years, which he termed spiritual science, sought to apply what he saw as the clarity of thinking, characteristic of Western philosophy, to spiritual questions, differentiating this approach from what he considered to be vaguer approaches to mysticism. In a second phase, beginning around 1907, he began working collaboratively in a variety of artistic media, including drama, dance, and architecture, culminating in the building of the Goetheanum, a cultural center to house all the arts. In this first phase of his work, beginning after World War I, Steiner worked on various ostensibly applied projects, including Waldorf education and Waldorf schools, biodynamic agriculture, and anthroposophical medicine. Steiner advocated a form of ethical individualism, to which he later brought a more explicitly spiritual approach. He based his epistemology on Johann Wolfgang Goethe's worldview, in which thinking is no more and no less an organ of perception than the eye or the ear. Just as the eye perceives colors and the ear sounds, so thinking perceives ideas. A consistent thread that runs through his work is the goal of demonstrating that there are no limits to human knowledge. Now, allegedly, Rudolph Steiner wrote and gave speeches where he talked about a future vaccine that would come in the future. Take a listen to this. Rudolph Steiner, and I quote, "In the future, we will eliminate the soul with medicine under the pretext of a healthy point of view. There will be a vaccine by which the human body will be treated as soon as possible, directly at birth, so that the human being cannot develop the thought of the existence of soul and spirit. To materialistic doctors will be entrusted with the task of removing the soul of humanity. As today, people are vaccinated against this disease or that disease, so in the future, children will be vaccinated with a substance that can be produced precisely in such a way that people, thanks to this vaccination, will be immune to being subjected to the madness of spiritual life. He would be extremely smart, but he would not develop a conscience. And that is the true goal of some materialistic circles. With such a vaccine, you can easily make the etheric body loose in the physical body. Once the etheric body is detached, the relationship between the universe and the etheric body would become extremely unstable, and man would become an automaton, for the physical body of man must be polished on this earth with spiritual will. So the vaccine becomes a kind of arymanique force. Man can no longer get rid of a given materialistic feeling. He becomes materialistic of constitution and can no longer rise to the realm of the spiritual. Quote unquote, Rudolph Steiner. And when he says the vaccine becomes a kind of arymanique force, what he means by that is the relevance of this concept of the Ahrimanic Deception in regard to an occult war for world rule, is that now it is characteristic of such things that they are prepared long in advance. Ahrimanic powers prepare the evolution of mankind in such a way that it can fall a prey to Ahriman when he appears in human form within Western civilization. Ahriman will appear in human form, and the only question is how he will find humanity prepared. Will his preparations have secured for him as followers, the whole of mankind that today calls itself civilized? Or will he find a humanity that can offer resistance? Now, who is Ahriman? An arymanique force. Who is this Ahriman that Rudolph Steiner is speaking of? Ahriman is the evil spirit in early Iranian religion, Zoroastrianism and Zorvanism, lord of darkness and chaos, and the course of human confusion, disappointment, and strife. He is also known as Ahrimanique, evil spirit or dark spirit, and exists in opposition to Ahrimanique, good spirit or bright spirit, also known as Ahura Mazda and Ormuzd. In the early polytheistic Persian religion, Ahura Mazda was the king of the gods and creator of the world. And Ahriman, lord of the legions of demons, was his opponent. After the reforms of the Zoroaster, resulting in the monotheistic religion of Zoroastrianism, Ahura Mazda became the one true God, and all the other deities, emanations, and avatars of power. But Ahriman remained the source and embodiment of evil. This has been a show narrated So that's by enough of that. For couple thoughts on that. Is that is that true? First of all, maybe. I've said a million times on this show, a lot of the belief systems and religions and ancient knowledge and wisdom that's been passed down through the generations within those in the upper aristocratic, elitist, bourgeoisie families, bloodlines, circles, etc. You know, that rewritten religion of the peasants, Christianity, that's lower religions. That's for you proles, the proletariat, the plebes, right? The plebeians of ancient Rome, the workers, the slaves. But the religion of the elite and the aristocrats, something much different, something more ancient. And the more you dig into this stuff, you start learning about these gods, Apollo, Osiris, the Egyptian gods, the even back to the Sumerians and the Phoenicians and the Canaanites, Moloch, Baal, Ahriman, right? How come you've never heard about a lot of this stuff? Because it's occulted. It's hidden. It's for initiates. It's not for you rabble to know and understand. It is for illuminated minds. That's how these people think and act and believe. And you don't know about it because you're not supposed to. The whole point throughout the centuries has been to keep you ignorant and stupid about this stuff. Sorry. I mean, I'm not here to say that there's anything wrong with not knowing. I'm here to say that there's a reason why nobody knows. And there's a reason why people try to silence people like me for talking about this stuff and bringing it up. Because they don't want you to think. They don't want the slaves educated. It's been like that for all of human history. And to deny that that is a fact is beneath you. Get better. Accept reality and history for what it is. Learn from it. Grow. Get better. Become smarter, more aware, more connected. You've heard me say this stuff time and time and time again. And I keep saying it on repeat because I'm trying to drill it into your brain like the mainstream media drills all their bullshit created narratives into your brain through repetition. And they've told you that they do this. Obama admitted this. George W. Bush admitted this. Clinton did it, but didn't admit it. But he did, sign the Telecommunications Act of 96, which, was the beginning. And then it was Smith-Mundt Act, Modernization Act, taken, they didn't deregulate, but they inundated you with so much news and bullshit, news, quote unquote, air quotes. And then when they repealed the Smith-Mundt Act, which made it legal for the State Department to run propaganda campaigns, psychological operations on you, ignorant Americans, that flew right under the radar. Nobody was outraged about that. Isn't that weird? You guys didn't even know about it. Why? Because the media didn't talk about it. Only thing you know about is what the media talks about. Because that's where you get your news, is the media. That is owned by 5 big companies that control all the news and information you get to hear. And you know what? They're coming after podcasters too. Yeah. I just saw an article the other day where they said something about they want to censor podcasts even more now. I think it was from the Free Thought Project. I'll have to go bring up that article and read it to you. All right, here we go. This is from the Free Thought Project. They're coming after podcasts, probably. Censors using artificial intelligence to silence podcasts who question the establishment, the collapse of support for free speech among Western pseudo-elites is the foundation of so many other problems, from medicine to war. This is from Brett Swanson. Elon Musk's purchase of Twitter may have capped the opening chapter in the information wars. Where have you heard that before? Alex Jones, right? Where free speech won a small but crucial battle. Full spectrum combat across the digital landscape, however, will only intensify, as a new report from the Brookings Institution, a key player in the censorship industrial complex, demonstrates. First, a review. Reams of internal documents known as the Twitter files show that social media censorship in recent years was far broader and more systematic than even we critics suspected. Worse, the files expose deep cooperation, even operational integration, among Twitter and dozens of government agencies, including the FBI, DHS, DOD, CIA, Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, Department of Health and Human Services, CDC, and of course, the White House. Government agencies also enlisted a host of academic and nonprofit organizations to do their dirty work. The Global Engagement Center, housed in the State Department, for example, was originally launched to combat international terrorism, but has now been repurposed to target Americans, also known as domestic terrorists, right? The U.S. State Department also funded a UK outfit called the Global Disinformation Index, which blacklists American individuals and groups and convinces advertisers and potential vendors to avoid them. Kind of like, what's the thing that I was talking about? Environmental global governance or whatever. From the episode I did with Sam Winchester. Crap, I can't remember that acronym right now. Environmental Social Governance, ESG, that's what it is. Okay, this reminds me of that, ESG. Election Integrity Partnership. Homeland Security created, including the Stanford Internet Observatory, the University of Washington Center for an Informed Public. That's some inversion. And the Atlantic Council's DFR lab, which flagged for social suppression, tens of millions of messages posted by American citizens. I mean, people. Like, information is already so propagandized and censored. They don't want you to know everything. There are things they want to keep hidden, occulted from you, me, all of us. With the total credibility collapse of legacy media over the last 15 years, people around the world turned to social media for news and discussion. When social media then began censoring the most pressing topics, such as COVID-19, and you guys know that every single podcast of mine that I talk about COVID-19 gets the little learn about COVID-19 flag, the little blue strip, right? When social media then began censoring the most pressing topics, such as COVID, people increasingly turned to podcasts. That's why I and many others like me have started turning some heads, getting some earballs, right? Physicians and analysts who'd been suppressed on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and who were of course nowhere to be found on legacy media, delivered via podcasts much of the very best analysis on the broad array of pandemic science and policy. Period. That is a fact. Which brings us to the new report from Brookings, which concludes that one of the most prolific sources of misinformation now is, you guessed it, podcasts. See? People that do the work of thinking, learning, researching, and critically analyzing their environment using the scientific method. Trial and error, right? We are now misinformation. And they're going to send the AI algorithm bots out there to censor us, allegedly. So maybe there isn't a bright future for podcasters anymore, like I have repeatedly said on my show time and time again. Maybe there is a definite end to this road. And if that happens, that'll be very sad, because that'll mean that free speech is over and you better go get armed to the teeth, because there's a new world order coming. And further, the underregulation of podcasts is allegedly a grave danger because of misinformation. You see, people? Do you see how they spin it? How they invert reality to keep you unaware, not knowledgeable, not knowing what's going on purpose. And I've said it before. You want to know the truth, people? You got to put in the work. You got to go figure it out for yourself. You got to check sources. You got to gather information. You almost have to become an investigative reporter or an investigative journalist. You have to do the work. That's the thing. People know that most people, or the elite rather, know that most people aren't going to do the work. They're not going to buy books, read them. They got too much going on. Kids, lives, hobbies, TV, beer, drugs, right? Life's too short. Who gives a shit? If the world's going to hell in a handbasket, let it burn, right? That's how a lot of people think. Well, guess what? It's probably going to burn. And it's because of our fear and our laziness as a species. Maybe it's time for an all-powerful elite of illuminated, initiated minds to take the reins of human free will and individual sovereignty. Maybe socialism and communism is the answer. Maybe Karl Marx was right when he said capitalism is nothing but a stepping stone on the way to socialism. Maybe he was right about that. Maybe time will prove Mr. Marx correct. We shall see. So anyway, I wanted to talk about that, continuing themes from previous shows today. There was one other thing I wanted to talk about today, and I don't remember what it was. So let's move on. This is going to be a short episode because I'm trying to maneuver sharing screens on these video shows. And you know what? I just realized I forgot to tell you, this is a video podcast again. Well, you probably figured that out already, but you can watch this on Patreon for subscribers, or if you're on Spotify, you can watch it for free. All the other platforms, once again, you're only going to hear the audio. You're not going to see the video. And I'm going to start doing more of these in the future. Not every video or not every podcast that I do moving forward is going to be video. I'm still going to do audio onlys a lot of the time. I'm just trying to get familiar with StreamYard. I'm using the StreamYard app. I figured out how to do share screens. I'm just trying to figure out the technology on how to maneuver it so it's seamless and I don't waste dead air time trying to maneuver around to starting and playing video clips, yada, yada, et cetera, et cetera. So bear with me while I learn as I go, which is my advice to all of you. If you want to start something, just start trying. Be prepared to fail a million times, and guess what? One day you're going to have it. You're going to get it. That's what's called developing yourself so you can make fruitful use of your freedom. That's what it's called making yourself better, smarter, more connected, more aware, growing as an individual. The opposite of what the elite want you to do. They want you to fall in line, obey, listen to the authorities. Don't think too much. We'll do all the thinking for you. You just follow the leader like a stupid lemming right off a cliff to your inevitable end. Sheep led to the slaughter. Do you want to be a sheep led to the slaughter, people? Don't you wish you would have known what the elites who own you had planned for you? Do you want to be the type of person that learns too late and then says to yourself, I wish I would have known. I wish I would have listened to those nut job tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorists, those right-winger white supremacists, demon word. Don't listen to them. They're crazy. They're stupid. They don't know what they're talking about. They're preaching misinformation and disinformation. When in reality, we're learning, reading, growing, processing information, interpreting it critically, vetting it, trying to tear it apart from every possible angle in hopes of discovering truth. The quest, the truth seeker's quest for knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. That's all we're doing. And that's all we're urging all of you to do also. But there's a roadblock. There are systems of power and control in place that are trying to prevent you and me to speak freely, to assemble, to discuss politics at the public square. They don't want that. They don't want you able to own firearms so that you can protect yourselves for when they send their United Nations jackboot military forces to kick in your door and haul you off to some fucking FEMA camp somewhere. Is that what you want? I'm starting to think that's what you people want. You can not believe people like me all you want. But guess what? Tick-tock. Tick-tock. You're all going to find out. We're all going to learn the truth sooner or later. For some of you, maybe not in this lifetime. But you mark my words, my fellow Americans, sooner or later, the things that are coming out of my mouth today are going to start lining up with what you are witnessing with your own eyes in your society, in your environment. You're going to be like, you know what? That crazy tinfoil hat wearing nut job Andrew for America guy was right. My fellow Americans, it's time to play some punk rock. And today, I'm going to play a video, a shit recording of one of my own songs right off a cliff that I also shared around the same time that I shared this Let's Learn Together video with Rudolph Steiner that not a lot of people listen to. So I'm going to force you to listen to it just so I can get it out of the way and we can all move on. So here we go. This is a recording I did here in my little home shit studio of my old track, Right Off a Cliff. I like the lyrics. I think you guys will too. You can read along with it because I'm going to play it through video so you guys can read the lyrics as it goes. So at least maybe you like the lyrics if you don't like the song. So bear with me here. I'm going to try to share this screen and play this song for you. Don't fuck up. Don't fuck up. 1, 2, here ready, go. You like these lyrics, people. Somebody's false reality is playing on the TV screen. We fall for you, believe in you to show us all the way. But why is it so hard to say that everything will be okay? And why is it so hard to say that everything could change? But every time you walk away, every time I think you're listening, you're really just waiting for your turn to prove I'm wrong. Yeah, say it ain't true. Got my back against the wall, but I'll never take a fall when everybody wants to be like you. Think they better think before they do. You can't teach what you don't know. You're one pathetic mess, and everybody needs to get a clue. Don't nobody wanna hear the truth. When you speak to me, sounds as if you drive this thing right off a cliff. Let's just put our guns away. Let's hear what you have to say. I don't wanna put the blame on all the chemicals we take, but maybe we should work this out. Maybe we should change. But every time you walk, every time I think you're listening, you're really just waiting for your turn to prove I'm wrong. Yeah, say it ain't true. I got my back against the wall, but I'll never take a fall when everybody wants to be like you. I think they better think before they do. You can't teach what you don't know. It's one pathetic mess, and everybody needs to get a clue. Don't nobody wanna hear the truth. I'm thinking, oh yeah, people. Breakdown. Somebody's false reality is playing on the TV screen. We fall for you, believe in you to show us all the way. Eventually I'm gonna do a guitar solo right here. Everybody wants to be like you. Think they better think before they do. You can't teach what you don't know. It's a one pathetic mess, and All right, people. I hope you liked that track. That was yours truly, Andrew, for America, with one of my original songs, Right Off a Cliff. Go to the website, politicsandpunkrockpodcast.com, buy a t-shirt, donate to the show, read the show notes, click on the SoundCloud link to check out my other music, click on the Patreon link to become a subscriber where you're going to get my bonus episodes, the video of all the interviews that I've been doing, some other fun stuff. World News Report's going to be up there, trying to build that out. So if you like my show, please follow me on everything. Subscribe if you would, and throw me a couple bucks. Inflation, just trying to hedge. But I really don't care about the money. Like I've told you guys a million times, the truth must not be behind a paywall, like my friend NY Patriot has said in the past. So I'm going to keep it going down the track. Hopefully you guys will share and spread my podcasts and podcasts like mine in this information war. It's the only way we're going to crack these thick, propagandized, ignorant, narcissistic, feeble skulls and minds, so that we can awaken the masses to the realities of this world. I love you guys so much. Thank you for listening. Good night. We'll see you next time. This has been episode 133 of the Politics and Punk Rock Podcast, entitled Rudolph Steiner, Anthropo-Gnosticism, Ahriman, and Punk. We'll see you next time.
John, I've not known you long, but I love you already. But I have to say that it's disingenuous to claim that the biases that are exhibited on Fox News are any different from the biases exhibited on MSNBC. It's difficult to suggest that these corporations operate as anything other than mouthpieces for their affiliate owners in BlackRock and Vanguard. And unless we start to embrace, and also, mate, like just spiritually, if I may use that word in your great country, we have to take responsibility for our own perspective. I've been on that MSNBC, mate. It was propagandist nutcrackery on there. I went on a show called Morning Joe. It was absurd the way they carried on.
Good Morning Joe.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know what it was. It wasn't morning. There was no one called Joe there. No one could concentrate. They didn't understand the basic tenets of journalism. No one was willing to stick up for genuine American heroes like Edward Snowden. No one was willing to talk about Julian Assange and what he's suffered trying to bring real journalism to the American people. And I think to sit within the castle of MSNBC throwing rocks at Fox News is ludicrous.
My friend,
make MSNBC better. Make MSNBC great again.
My friend, I would. The moment
fight them on a territory you can win on, Joe.
Russell, darling, the moment that you give me a specific example. An actual example.
Okay, I'll give you one.
Right, just wait.
Wait.
Just
we need a specific example.
How about let me tell you what the specific I'd like to hear of. I'd like to hear a specific example, a provable specific example of an MSNBC correspondent or anchor being on television saying something they knew was false, and we're saying behind the scenes to people, I'm about to go out, and we know that the election wasn't stolen,
You've
or something equivalent.
Example.
But I will go out on television and say the opposite. I will lie.
When's my answer?
Just give me the specific example.
I understand the basic point.
Give me a specific example.
All right.
I'm with you. I think it's a false equivalency, Russell.
It's not. That's your own bias.
It's not about bias. It's a false equivalency because you don't actually know anything about any of these organizations you're talking about. Even on MSNBC ones. Big fucking deal.
My darling, it was more than enough.
You can't come up with
such a carry-on.
You don't have a single actual fact.
Do you want an example? Yes. The ludicrous, outrageous criticisms of Joe Rogan around ivermectin, deliberately referring to it as a horse medicine when they know it's an effective medicine.
That's not a bad
Rachel
example.
Maddow turning up on the TV saying if you take this vaccine, you're not going to get it when it hadn't been clinically trialed for transmission.
Non-responsive.
You have to listen.
Wait.
Do you think think you can improve America by
think we could all
determinedly
be
and
better.
avowedly condemning Fox News without acknowledging that you're participating in the same game? Did you not just listen to Bernie Sanders, someone who plainly, legitimately believes in this country and believes it's possible to change, but is bound by corruption, is bound by the lobbying system? Surely it's clear to you, Bill, as one of the great pundits and experts and comic voices, that systemic change is required. Money has to be taken out of politics. We need new political systems that genuinely represent ordinary Americans so that we can overcome cultural differences. And bickering about which propagandist network is the worst is not going to save a single American life, not improve the life of a single American child, not going to improve America's standing in the world, and the world needs a strong America. I'll tell you that. I'll tell you that. So you have an obligation, a duty, not to condemn these people.